and go to another European country. And this is very important because this is a big misunderstanding that EU citizens are all the people with a European nationality living in Europe, but there has to be an extra demand before you become that.
Right.
Wow.
Thank you.
And what is important as well is that these EU citizens have specific rights. And one of the rights that we're going to talk about today is the right of an EU citizen to live together as a family with his partner, no matter where this partner comes from. And that is where the rightful stay from people from third countries comes from. It's not the right of the person from the third country, but it's the right of the EU citizen to be with his partner. But this is something that is very important to realize, because it's not the right of the person from the third country, it's the right of his partner. And well, that comes
all
with
together.
This comes all together.
Oh, right. This is really interesting. So in other words, you have defined already for us who is the partner and who is the EU citizen. Both we have covered already now. Wonderful. So now, what has changed as far as the legal circumstances or opportunities for these partners are concerned?
Well, there's not so much things have changed because these are European guidelines and these are a few years old already. Finally implemented in the Dutch law. It's not, the guidelines haven't changed, but the way the IND is handling these cases is becoming more and more strict. So the only thing that might have changed is the way that these situations are handled by the IND.
I had a rumor sometime about 2 years ago that this window of opportunity for EU citizens to, if you want to regularize the status of their undocumented partner, I heard that window of opportunity was going to be closed. Is that true, or it's just that the implementation or the how do I say, the exercising of this implementation of this law is being enforced more strictly? No,
because the guidelines have stayed the same. The only thing that could change is if on a European basis these guidelines would change. That is possible because, well, they're talking in Europe all the time, but these changes tend to go very, very slowly. So if there's any change to come, that will take a while. And still, the way that the Dutch government is interpreting these guidelines, that has to be according to the law. But, well, just as everyone will look for the borders of possibilities, also the Dutch government, especially nowadays, I assume, will try and find out how they can restrict the rights of the partners of EU citizens within the boundaries of these EU guidelines. So that is kind of what is happening, and they're getting especially more and more strict into the qualifications of who is not so much the husband or wife of an EU citizen, but who is to be considered the partner, the unmarried partner of an EU citizen.
Can you take us into these distinctions and explain what is what?
Yeah, that is it. Because if you read the guidelines carefully, they will speak about the husband or the wife of an EU citizen. So that means that if you are officially married, and this marriage is also recognized and registered here in the Netherlands, then you have a direct right, based on the guideline, to stay with your EU husband or wife. The guideline does give a possibility for the members to treat unmarried couples the same way. But the guideline also says that if there's an unmarried couple, then the members, the states, have to or are able and allowed to investigate and do a good investigation whether this relationship can be compared or compared to a marriage. So that is, it should be kind of the same thing.
Well, what is the criteria for who they decide whether the relationship is in quotes a marriage or not?
Okay, the criteria that the IND now uses is that if you can either prove that you have been living together and having a joint household for a period of 6 months or more, or if you have a child together, then that is kind of proof beyond reasonable doubt for the IND that this has to be a real relationship to be compared to a marriage, and then they will accept you also as the partner of an EU citizen.
Wow.
But then the second question is, that might come, how can you prove that? And then it becomes more difficult. Because the IND says, well, you can prove it by giving us an extract from the municipality that you have been registered at the same address for a period of 6 months or more. And that is impossible, because that is in violation with the Dutch law.
Yeah,
so this is a demand that the IND asks that is impossible to give.
Mm-hmm.
And also they say, well, we want, then if you cannot give us that, then we want a kind of proof that is, beyond doubt. So that is, but you could only do that if you have been registered, because things like opening a joint bank account, getting a lease for a house, everything. Yeah. It starts with your registration. Without your registration, you cannot open a bank account and you cannot do any official act. So, what the IND does by asking for these official documents is making it impossible to give these proofs.
Wow.
But still, there is a way out, because there's not a way around it, because you can give them any kind of proof. Any kind of proof has to be looked upon. It could be valid. So what people have to do as soon as you move in together, make sure from day one that you have the proof that you are living together. So make sure that you make photographs. Try and do as many official things as you can, so that you can get letters on the same address, bearing both your names. Make sure that your family knows everything about it. Let them write them letters to the both of you. Try and gather as much proof as you can as soon as you start living together, so that you will be able to convince the IND that this is the real thing.
But where is a child involved? Would that be so difficult to prove?
Well, yes and no. The child will be there, obviously, but what you have to make sure is that you acknowledge the child, preferably before the child is born, because then on paper this will also be the child of both parents. If you do not do anything, if you don't recognize the child, and your name as a father, for instance, will not be on the birth certificate.
Yes.
And then for the IND, they want to see some kind of official proof. So then the IND will ask you for other proof to prove that you are actually both parents of this child. And you can prevent that very easily by recognizing the child before the child is born.
Okay, and if after the child is born, can that still be done?
Yes, it can still be done. That's not a problem. What you have to keep in mind is that you have to be able to prove to the Dutch government that you would be able to marry the other parent, so that you have to have a bachelor or spinster certificate. And if you can prove that you are unmarried, it will be a very easy procedure. You simply both go to the gemeente, tell them that the child is born, that the father wants to acknowledge the child, and then the right documents will be made by the gemeente.
Okay. Now, at this point in time, it's like there's a need to highlight or bring to the focus this topic, and is there something happening that you think migrants generally, let me put it that way, should be aware of, and they can take advantage of to regularize things, for instance?
Well, especially they should be aware of the fact that the IND is making it more and more difficult, and the IND is kind of, they disbelieve everyone. They say everybody lies. So if you come there together to the IND saying that this is my partner, we have been living together for 6 months, the IND will try and find proof for the opposite. They will not kind of pry into your life to help you fix this up and get the right documents and the right proof for the fact that you are the partner of an EU citizen. They will always try and figure out whether you're not speaking the truth. So one of the things that they do this with is with an interrogation, with a kind of third degree that you will get when you go for the application. It's not always the same, it differs, but what can be done is that when you go to the IND, you have to go together to file this application to be recognized as the partner of an EU citizen. You might be separated, and then you will get the third degree. The IND is going to ask you questions about your personal life, because that way they can find out whether you have a real relationship or not. If, for instance, you give different answers to the question where you are living, or what the colors of the curtain in the bedroom are, well, that's strange, because if you have been living together for 6 months, these will be things that you will know. And it's very important that you prepare well for such an interrogation and know what to expect, and also what you should know or shouldn't know, but also what can be questions that you do not have to answer because they're too much prying into your private life, and the IND has no right to ask certain questions.
I was just going to ask how legal it is, what the IND may be doing in that case.
That's a very good question, because when you look at the guidelines, then you could conclude that the IND is only allowed to do such a very thorough investigation if they have reason to believe that you are faking the relationship.
Okay.
And what is very important, faking a relationship is a criminal offense. If you do not have a real relationship but you pretend to have one, and you kind of lie to the IND about it, it is a criminal offense, and then you will be in a lot more trouble than you started out with. But normally you would think that the IND is only allowed to do a very thorough investigation when they think that this is a fake relationship. But in reality, they are allowed to do some kind of investigation. But if you look carefully at the way they are treating and handling these cases, well, you could have fooled me, but I think that they suspect foul play in every case, that is their intent, the way that they're handling they approach the cases. And to be honest with you, of course there are enough cases where they have proven to be right, so you cannot really blame them for doing such an investigation and being thorough with this.
Wow. Hi, listeners, I'm sure you're following this discussion, and it's very interesting. But at the same time, we see opportunities for those who have a solid and genuine relationship with the EU partners. If you still are undocumented, there may be an opportunity for you to fix things up.
Yes.
And that is what this discussion is all about. And the expert is here to throw light on your questions and to give you some answers you might need. If you want to react on this discussion, please give us a call on 027371619. You might actually want to ask this on behalf of somebody and find out what's going on. Okay, do we take this caller? Good morning. Good morning, sir. Okay. Thank you, sir. Recognizes. Okay, good question. Thank you, sir. What's the difference?
It's a very good question.
Very good question.
Because this is one of the most important things, I think, in these whole regulations, that there is such a big difference when you are married and when you are not married. When you are married, the guideline they give you have the right to be here. So the procedure is not getting a staying permit. The procedure is just going to the IND and saying, listen, I am the husband or the wife of an EU citizen. That means that I'm entitled to be here. Also, I'm entitled to work here without a work permit. This is also very important. And the only thing you do at that moment is that you go to the IND and tell them, listen, I want you to recognize me as the husband or wife of an EU citizen. In a marriage state, you have to give them the right documents, the marriage certificate and everything, the registration here in the Netherlands. And then only if the IND really suspects that this is a fake marriage, whatever, then they can do some kind of investigation. For the IND, it will be very difficult to deny you the right to be here, because this is really a strong right. On the other hand, when you're not married, then the IND is going to start the investigation first, before they will recognize you as the partner of an EU citizen. And also these investigations sometimes take quite a long time. That means that in the meantime you're still awaiting the outcome of the investigation of the IND. And because it's much more difficult to prove beyond reasonable doubt that you are living together, I explained just to you that it's impossible to get the official documents, so you will have to do it with other documents, and the IND will usually say, Well, if it's your friend or family member who is making a statement about your relationship, well, that's not an independent person. So we tend to disbelieve these statements as well. So you really have to be very well prepared and be very well documented to be able to prove to the IND that you have a relationship that can be compared and is exactly the same as a marriage. The only thing that fails is that piece of paper that made it official.
So I don't know whether that brought that clearly difference between somebody who is living together and somebody who is actually married. Are both considered the same in this case?
Sorry.
I mean,
yes. When you
whether they are married together or
no.
living together, are they considered?
This is a very good question.
Yeah.
When you, in the beginning of the procedure, when your EU partner is here in the Netherlands and the IND has looked into your case and concluded that this is a real relationship and that you are entitled to be here in the Netherlands with your EU partner, then your situation does not differ from someone who is married. But there's a big difference when something goes wrong with your relationship or something goes wrong with your marriage. Because the guideline gives the husband or the wife of an EU citizen the right to continue his stay if he has been married for a period of 3 years and if during those 3 years you've spent 1 year in an EU country. This is a specific right that comes from the guideline, and it specifically says husband or wife. It does not say that it applies the same way for the unmarried partner of an EU citizen. And the question is now how the IND is going to treat situations where you haven't been married, but if you've had a relationship for 3 years or more, of which you've been in the Netherlands for 1 year or more. And I know, because we have done some pre-investigation with the IND, that the IND says, well, we don't consider that the same. If you have not been married and your relationship ends, well, that's the end of your legal stay in the Netherlands, unless you've been here for more than 5 years, because after 5 years you can apply for your independent continued stay as an EU citizen. But before that, so between the 3 and the 5 years, and that's a crucial period, it's we don't know yet for sure how the IND is going to handle these cases. And eventually, if you have to go through and go to the judge and maybe even the European Court, if these procedures can have the same outcome as if you would have been married. So this is a really difficult and an uncertain situation. So by all means, if this is the love of your life, propose, get married, and try and make sure that you will not get into an uncertain situation like this.
Okay. Now, concerning the status which is granted to the partner of the EU citizen, is it going to be, how is it done? Does the IND give let's say, an indefinite residential status, or if the person is maybe upgraded to become a national, I mean, get a Dutch nationality in this case? How is it handled?
It's the way it's handled is you get a legal stay here in the Netherlands, and normally you will not be together with a Dutch citizen. I hope that is very clear, that is impossible if you're in the Netherlands. Your EU citizen will not be Dutch. So the question is whether you are entitled to the Dutch nationality after 5 years. I think you are, but you will have to do everything according to the rules. That means that you will have to pass the inburgeringstoets. And the funny thing is, when you are an EU citizen or the partner of an EU citizen, you do not have to do that. You're not you're required to do the inburgeringstoets. And to be honest with you, I'm not sure whether all the facilities that are there for people from third parties who have a regular staying permit, because they get the possibility to go to school and to pass these inburgeringstoetsen. But I don't think that those facilities are there for EU citizens and their partners, because it's not required from them. So you will have to take some effort. to pass all these necessary tests
But
to get the Dutch nationality.
Yeah, all right. That's for the nationality. But for the regular residential residence permit, the language requirement, those tests don't come in here.
No, they don't. They don't come in here. And there's also, because it's you really have to think of this as the right of this EU citizen to be here with his partner, and it shouldn't be too difficult for this EU partner to be here or to continue his life. That would normally be the issue with his not EU partner.
Yes.
So that means that the regulations are as strict as normally. Like the income, you have to be able to prove that you do not have to go to the Dutch government to get money, so that you can support yourself and your family. But the income that you have to have with a normal staying permit, that doesn't apply for EU citizens. You just have to prove that in your specific circumstances you have enough money. So that everything is completely different. And also with the inburgeringstoets or MVV requirements that are not there for partners of EU citizens.
So just to make this a bit clear for myself, assuming, let's suppose, in a hypothetical case, let's say I want to marry my wife now.
I'm already married with you.
And now, let's say I have the Dutch nationality, and I live here, and she is here and she doesn't have a status, let's suppose. So now I have to move to, let's say, Belgium and become a EU citizen to be able to marry her. Is that what is that the meaning?
That is, they call it the EU turn, I think, in some cases. It is a proven possibility, because that happens the other way around. For instance, we have a lot of clients also from Ghana, and the Ghanese community in Europe is large, but everybody knows each other. It looks like everybody knows each other. And for instance, we see a lot of cases where the partner is living in the UK, and they are purposely moving to the Netherlands to be here, to be registered as an EU citizen, to become an EU citizen, so that they can be reunited with the partner they want. So that, and it goes obviously the other way around as well. So if you, as a Dutch person, would move to Belgium, and then, because every country has its own requirements to be recognized as an EU citizen. If you come to the Netherlands, they will only say that you are exercising your rights if you've been here for more than 3 months, and actually also when you are working, because that is another thing that can be important. Because if you don't work, they say, well, you're just here, you're not here to stay. So you have to prove to them that you're here, kind of here to stay.
The partner who is looking for the status has to prove that he is working.
No, the EU partner.
Oh, that's what you mean.
Before in the Netherlands, they are recognized as an EU citizen.
Yes, so
they
must
have to be here
employment.
for more than 3 months, because normally they can be in another EU country for 3 months, the free period, and they have to to register also as an EU citizen.
Okay, wonderful. Well, good information, ladies and gentlemen. Give us a call if you have any questions still on this topic, this discussion. Give us a call on 020-737-1619. Mevrouw van Koesveld is here to answer all your questions. In the meantime, we'd like to take some music.